This is Lost in Electronics. Today's video is going to be the UDM Pro versus the pfSense Firewall. This is kind of I know that I have been on Facebook a lot with using the comparison videos through looking at the forums. And notice one of the big conversation is pfSense versus the UDM Pro. What situations would be best for what and what kind there? It depends on in your kind of situation. Do you want something that's going to be easy to set up, where it's pretty much going to walk you through step by step, kind of like if you were using like a standard router through like your ISP or any kind of like Linksys or anything else? It kind of gives you it gives you a lot of advanced options, but it's very easy to set up. You might want to look at something like a unified network. Now, on the other hand, if you want the best security and the most customization and open source software, then you're going to be looking at pfSense. What I'm doing is I'm running pfSense through a virtual machine right now to show you, but you can use anything. You can see our devices here, and tells you what we're running here. You can see that was on one of my virtual machines. I gave it 6 cores just to kind of show this example. I just put this up about 4 hours. You can go here. We're going to go ahead and go through the settings. I'm going to go ahead and first start with the UDM Pro, and then we're going to go work with other settings through the different dashboards here. So, kind of start out. This is the dashboard that we normally would use on the UDM Pro. The next thing we're going to look at is, you probably, if you're familiar with either one here, the next one we're going to go here is looking at our mapping. We can see all the devices connected. And if you want to get a little bit more, here's all the clients, what server they're connected to, and which of my VLANs, and how much data is going through. So this is a real-time network status here. I have other videos that kind of go in more in depth in here, but this is just the main, just kind of run through. If you want to see kind of a rundown of everything, here is our settings here. Threat management system. So this is here's the threat management system. Here's everything to try to attack my network, and there is the device, the network's trying to attack here. So you do have the capabilities. Then we have it where we're going to go ahead and just go to settings, just kind of quickly through. This is kind of, if you want to get a little bit more in-depth view of UDM Pro, I do have other videos we can go into more in depth and on this UDM Pro here. You can see the network, Wi-Fi, network status, all this there. Here, the routing, threat management system, pet analysis, guest network, profiles, users. Kind of gives you there. This is the kind of a closed source software. So it really comes down to, do you want open source compared to closed source software? Here is just kind of a basic rundown of all the options I can do here. Through the UDM Pro, what we can be able to send, alerts. So it does give you some customization through the UDM. Again, it's closed source, so you don't know what they're putting into it, and you don't have as much access like what you would have on if you were running something like a pfSense Firewall. If I would have done it again, I would probably went with like a Ruckus setup and a pfSense, but that's because I also have a little bit higher networking requirements when I started realizing for my UDM Pro. It's not that I'm disappointed with my UDM Pro. I am actually very happy with it. Besides, I had one issue with it, but besides that, I have been very happy with the software. I'd like the access points to doing really well. The interface has been really easy to set up, and going from like a home consumer router to kind of like a small business. I've been working with Cisco in the past, as I do have 2 Cisco switches, and then eventually, if I have people that are liking this content, we may also go through somehow the basics on to see basically on some Cisco commands here, because depending on what our audience are looking for, that's probably some of the future videos. I do have 2 Cisco switches I can work with. We can also go a little bit more in depth, maybe testing security on them, showing what kind of looks like, what IDS systems look like, Suricata paired to looking at Snort. So we do have other IDS systems we can look at in the future here. So we do have some kind of capabilities. So let's kind of get back to where we were originally here. Here's what the difference are. You can see kind of the different options. System. Here's advanced settings. You can see how much more settings you have through here. Here, this is just a kind of an example what I have. I don't have multiple different networking cards on this machine, so I can't go a little bit more in depth here. You can kind of see there's just so much more options you can do and more customizations and timings, and there's just every single kind of thing. It's kind of the question: do you kind of want I always say kind of more like the Apple feel, which kind of everything kind of set up for you, or do you want it kind of more like the Linux feel, where you can customize everything to everything as your heart's desire? So there is a lot of things that you can be able to go through here on there. So they do have a lot of customizations of what you can do. And the nice thing about this, since this is free and open source, all you can just go and go to pfSense website and download the ISO, and anybody can use it. I am currently just using there. You can use any kind of computer. This uses it runs on FreeBSD paired to a Debian based. So this is what you can see. You can also see the operating system. We go to the back of the community here. It tells us we're using our we're actually using FreeBSD here, and this is the version here. The nice thing about it is you need to update. You want to make changes with it. It's very easy to make changes. You do have things you can pay for if you want to there. Pay for some software if you want to use it. I personally like free and open source. Everything you can be able to do here. You can run an Nmap right from here. So that is something you can do. It'll do from that's something here. We can look at the ARP. We can send commands. It tells us here. We can actually run it right here. So we can run scans right from the pfSense. So again, there is things we can do. We can look at we can have the ARP table here. We have everything from the capabilities of sockets, states, tables, test ports, trace routes, command prompts. You just have so much more you can do here. We got the dashboard just like anything else here. Here is the dashboard if you want to go through this. You can customize your own dashboard. You have so many more options you can be able to do for that. We can do different types of VPN, so you're not just stuck with one type to be able to build into this. You have dynamic DNS. You can send out there. We have Wake on LAN. We have so much load balancing, IMG pings. Yeah, a lot of these same things we can do on the UDM Pro. But there is a lot more you can do in this one here. Firewall, pfSense blocker NG, so we can have capabilities. We can also go in. We do have ad blocking software, kind of like the Pi-hole. We can just enable, and on top of that, we got a package manager. This is something that you're gonna have a very difficult time sometimes with closed source software. We have so many different packages we can go and install here. It tells you what you can do. You can search for things, packaging. So you do have ArcWatch, backups, bandwidth, bind. There, you have so much there. For cell cards, you have cron tabs. You just have so much more there. Network status gathering, a packet sniffer that runs in the background to process on cable and DSL routers, gathers all sorts of network usage and servers over HTTP. Allows you to create overriding their GUI. We can create a radius server. We can do BGP. We have FTP clients we can run right there. We can allow the LEDs and the monitoring. So you can buy the hardware that already has this pre-installed on it, but we also have, you can really build any kind of computer to be able to have that kind of capability. So we do have a lot of options there for going through our this LCD screens. We can run a squid proxy. We just have so much we can be able to do. Mail reporting. We can sell email containers. We can set IDS systems in here. We have so much things we can be able to track things in your notes. You can do it just has so much more plugins you can be able to do through this one here. So if you want to experience that, you can be able to have pretty much almost unlimited control over. I would say pfSense is going to be absolutely a better software. Snort, you can go in. There's another IDS system in here. So Squid Guard, proxy filters, so traffic. These are things other companies use this, like Google uh, uses this on their firewall, so on their system. So again, if you know corporations use this, this is probably one of the most common firewalls is the pfSense firewall. And if you want to most like your big corporations run, this is the way to be able to run it. Granted, this is not going to be for your. I would not probably give my 85. If I have a elderly relative, I probably wouldn't give my elderly relative a pfSense firewall. This is not something that's going to be easy to set up unless you want to be sitting down there for long periods of time, kind of supporting things there. Now, if I have it where somebody is very somebody very tech savvy, or somebody who wants to maintain this, then this is a very good firewall. If you want to have something where you want to pretty much plug and play and go to UBM Pro. I could give that to my parents, and they would have no problem with figuring out how to be able to how to set that up. I can give it to my mother, even though she's not the most tech savvy person. She has the capability that she could be able to plug and play on, so it's not something that they can get confused with. Now they might run into problems like VLANs, but again, those are things that that we can that you still can have there, and people still can do research. But again, those are things that you kind of take a look at. But if you want to have you're worried about security on your network, this is the absolutely best way to be able to handle it. It can have WAN failovers if you have equipment that has multi Ethernet cards. You can run it on pretty much any machine there, as long as you got at least enough power. There is minimum requirements, but again, if you have any older machines you may not be using very much and it has multi Ethernet cards, we could very easy, or some maybe old servers laying around, you could very easily go and install pfSense on it. It's not hard to install. Basically install it, pretty much download the image and boot it up, and then just like you would for just like you would do with install an operating system, you download the ISO and take the ISO, put it on the flash drive, and take that flash drive and then install the software. We can get, if you need in the future, we will go into videos on how to download and install. This is, if you want to see, this is a virtual machine running back and with the actual what it looks like on FreeBSD. So if you are wanting to kind of try it out, I'm one of the people. I'll just try it. This is one of the first few times I've used pfSense firewalls, but I thought it was so amazing for what I can use, and we're getting a lot of questions on mainly on the forums I've been reading. Why should I go to pfSense firewall compared to UDM Pro and use an Ubiquity system? So everyone's going to have a little bit different arguments, kind of like asking somebody if they want to use, do you prefer a PC or do you prefer Mac? Or a Android versus iPhone. You're always going to have people that have different opinions and give you their experiences of why those are why you have one way compared to another. Everyone has different usage, and this is again one of the things you want anytime you go on a network. These are things that you'd want to be able to do yourself. Is let's go ahead and look at what options you have. What are you looking to do? How much time do you want to invest in it? Because it's kind of a security compared to usability. If you can't understand it or you don't want to go through it and you want to take a lot of time learning it, then pfSense may not be something for you. But if you don't mind taking a little bit of time to set it up, pfSense is going to be one of your best ways of keeping everything secure. And again, it depends on how much security you want. I like it because, again, it's pfSense is free and open source. Anybody can add plugins. Everyone can be able to add attachments to it, and they get it constant updates. So again, those are one of the biggest things you can do. Since if you see a problem, you can patch it out. So those are things that you have capabilities of. So those are things you always have. These that we just go through there. You could get the NetGate itself and actually have it so you can actually download the software right away. I personally just go and use the community version, and I'm just running this on a virtual machine because all it does is run free VSD. So if you know when you select image type, just select free VSD, and then you could install it on there if you want to see what it's like. If you want to kind of feel like there, you can, in theory, if you download an image of free VSD on a Raspberry Pi, you could download pfSense and get an extra card on it. It wouldn't be very powerful with a quad-core system. Maybe if you're only using maybe one or two users, it probably would just be fine. But if you're trying to use anything with any kind of heavy networking, I probably wouldn't recommend using something. You'd probably want something a little bit more powerful than a Raspberry Pi. Nice thing is they do have some micro computers. Are like I know Intel comes out with that fairly inexpensive Celrons, and there's also they have some of the micro Ryzen's out there that will be perfect with those that have a small form factor. Use a little bit more lower power. You don't really need anything amazing on it. As long as you got a two Ethernet ports, you can have. As long as you have it where you can get a WAN and a LAN port, you're fine. And then you can just go and dedicate one to the WAN and another one to the LAN. And then you could just take one of the cables and plug it into a switch, and you got as many ports as you need. And the same thing with wireless. Just make sure you got to just get an access point, either any kind of company. I would say either a Ubiquiti, or the other one it may be good is Cisco. Or if you have a Cisco equipment, the other one is also really good that you can always use as a Ruckus. Probably the best one is going to be a Ubiquiti and Ruckus, but again, depends what kind of platforms you're used to and what equipment you have. So again, this depends on what environment you want to have it. If you want to have it so you're not pretty much stuck with one environment, I would say pfSense is going to be your best option. It's going to be a little harder to set up, and it does take a little bit of time to set up. But after you get it set up, it's going to be a great capabilities. If with the Ubiquiti, you don't know when after you get it set up, it is easy to set up. But again, it's not going to give you as much customizations. You're pretty much stuck with the Ubiquiti equipment. Yes, you can connect other services, like you can connect Cisco and other things, but again, it's not going to be natively easily be able to support that. So those are things that you have to take in consideration of. Personally, I do like my UDM Pro. Both my wife and I work using a VPN connection, and it works extremely well. So those are things that you can always take a look at. So those are really kind of the big differences between them. You can see how much more options I can have through each of these settings here. And we'll go into more in depth into this in the future. I'm going to go ahead and play around with it myself more and virtual LAN IPs, and we can click on to add those. Single addresses, networking, WAN, local address, alias, ARP, other. So it does give you a lot more capability of what you want to do for virtual addresses. So we can schedule. We can have aliases, ports, URLs, all. We got VPNs we can run right from here. Mobile, pre-shared keys, advanced, status, Captel portal, DHCP leases, load balancing. So you haven't had anything set up yet, but just kind of give you there. We can go to edit files. One of my favorite ones is DNS Look Up. So let's use Google here. So you can see here we can got a couple different things. Google. Here's the addresses comes back to the record for the DNS. Let's go ahead and run a trace route to Google here. Tells us the pathway to Google. So there is different ways you can run different traces and pathways, and we're just trying to use this as showing you here. So those are going to be your pathways you're going to go. So they do have different diagnostics here. ARP table. Run an nmap right away. System activities. It tells me everything that's going on in the background. So there's other things I can be able to do here. I can reboot the system. Number 5, this is how I can do here. So this is showing you this is rebooting here. So this is just kind of showing you the background and what's going on here for the boot up process. Here you can show this is the pfSense. It's a bit of process here, so everything, any kind of changes you make, you can see it right there. This is a login screen here. You need to make sure you get your login password. So we're back into the interface again here. You can see everything again. So that's really the big difference. You want to kind of look at the difference between each of the thing, basically between pfSense and UDM Pro. We're kind of a little bit more in depth here for what's going on here. So you can always see it is slightly differences there. Version number I have, and if you want to check if there's any updates. How much of my memory and the resources I'm currently using is. Like something's using about half my memory right now. Temperature, CPU load. Tells you what kind of AM4 64-bit processor. So it does tell me what we're running here. So, and of course, my computer's going to have a lot more because I gave it almost 4 gigs of RAM memory, so it's about the same. But I did give it a lot more, give you a lot more cores. 6 CPU cycles, 6 packets there, so I'm going to have any problems running that because it basically is running on my AMD processor right now, the 3900 plus processor. Granted, there's 12 cores, so technically I don't need. I could technically there. This is just showing you what example what it would be running this pfSense firewall. So This is just really what our video about this is, Lost in Electronics. If you do enjoy this video, please click on my subscribe button. We will keep on having future content. I'm going to try to post a video at least once a week, maybe twice a week, depending on how my schedule is. But we're going to at least have a video at least once a week posted with any kind of new updates with Ubiquiti or any kind of networking. And then I'm going to start doing eventually going into kind of like a tech news. And we're also going to have reviews. If you want to also check out a couple of other side channels, I do always support new creators. Anybody has a new channel that they also like to share, I would definitely like to, I'll give you guys a shout out if I can, because I think that supporting the community is very important, especially with growing new channels. Currently, I was going to say that there is a new channel that this week's new channel that for one of my subscribers I will randomly pick if I do see anybody that adds them, and there is Smooth Cat. You might want to check out his gaming channel there. He's a fairly new creator. He is a teenager, so it is great. I always try to support, especially if you want to keep on supporting new YouTubers. And I know it's going to get a little bit more hard, a little bit more difficult, especially since YouTube keeps changing its terms of services. If it gets too bad, we'll go ahead and also check my content on BitChute, because I'll start posting there if I need to. We do have other platforms we can go to if we do have a problem with either YouTube's not liking the content. I also might have some security videos in the future on how to run these tools a little bit more in depth. I know there's a lot of hacking tutorials are not allowed on YouTube, but BitChute has no problem with it. So we'll when I start getting to those kind of videos, you'll start seeing videos posted there. It's going to be, as soon as I get it created, it should be Lost in Electronics, but I have not created the BitChute just yet. So when I do, I will show there, and we'll also show when I go and get this channel created, I will have a video on YouTube on how to create a BitChute channel too. So we do have capabilities of what's going on there. I do thank everyone who does come to my channel here. Without my subscribers, it's just be making videos for myself, and I enjoy that, be able to help out the community. And I do constantly, if anybody does basically wants to, if everybody does have any kind of questions, especially I'm mainly on Facebook when I do answer these questions, but if anybody has any other suggestions of platforms and forums that they are on, that they want me to help with posting my videos, or you're more than glad to take my videos and repost it back out somewhere else for this content, so that everyone can have the capability of using it. More we can, please just use my links, so that way we can at least have we can get a community started here. I do like making sure that because again, it's without anybody watching it, this is the point of YouTube. It's not a professional YouTuber in any form or a professional content. I'm just a beginner too. And when we work with get out of growing, and we should be able to get this channel working. With this is mainly this two things we've been going on is the pfSense and the UDM Pro. And we should have, if anybody has any more questions on either one of them, we'll keep on either posting new videos about it. And if you do leave me a comment onto there, I will try my best to keep getting it answered. Since my channels is very small, you should be getting a pretty quick response. When they do grow up a little bit, when we grow a little bit more, it might take a little bit longer. But again, I try to answer all my everybody that does post comments in there. We get a little bit bigger, we might have to do kind of randomly select, because again, I do believe of giving back to content because again, without you guys supporting this channel, then we wouldn't have much of a content to go over. So thank you again for all my audience that has supported my channel, and thank you again for subscribing.